The massive space station called Harmony Prime floated in the dark space around Kepler 442b. Inside its crystal walls, representatives from dozens of alien species sat in a great circular room. At the center stood Ambassador Kim Tae-young, a human diplomat wearing Earth's simple blue uniform. Kim looked around the room at the strange faces watching him. The Vorthak looked like living crystals that changed colors when they spoke. The Neltharians were clouds of glowing gas contained in special suits. The Keth representatives sat perfectly still, their black eyes showing no emotion as they shared thoughts through their hive mind. Honored council members, Kim began, his voice steady and calm. Earth requests permission to establish colonies in the Andromeda sector. Our surveys show 7 planets suitable for human life. We offer to share all resources found there with the Galactic Council. The crystalline form of Council Leader Kelphas flashed red, which meant anger among his people. The human species asks for too much. You already control 12 worlds. That is enough for your kind. Kim felt his jaw tighten but kept his voice polite. Respectfully, Leader Kelphas, the Vorthak Empire controls 47 worlds. The Neltharian hegemony has 63. We ask only for the chance to grow and contribute more to galactic peace. A sound like breaking glass came from the Vorthak section. It was their version of laughter. Contribute? Kelphas said, his crystal body now pulsing with bright orange light. Humans are useful servants, nothing more. You fight our wars, mediate our disputes, and maintain our peace. But you are still primitives who think with emotion instead of logic. On his ship floating near the station, Captain Lee Minho watched the proceedings on his screen. His hands gripped the arms of his command chair as he listened to the insults directed at his species. Behind him, his crew remained silent, but he could feel their anger growing. Dr. Park Ji-won, Earth's chief scientist, stood beside the captain. Her face showed no emotion, but her fingers moved quickly across her datapad, recording every word spoken in the council chamber. Back in the chamber, Kim tried once more. Earth has served the galaxy faithfully for 193 years. We have prevented 47 wars, negotiated peace in countless disputes, and shared our technology freely. We ask only for the respect due to any council member. The gas cloud that was Neltharian Representative Vexstar began swirling faster, a sign of amusement. Respect must be earned, human. Your species breeds too quickly and spreads too far. You disturb the natural order of the galaxy. Then came the announcement that changed everything. Kelphas rose from his crystalline throne, his body now glowing with cold blue light. The Council has decided. Earth must reduce its expansion by 60% immediately. 3 of your established colonies will be transferred to other species for proper management. The human population is growing beyond acceptable limits. Kim stood in stunned silence for a moment. Around him, the alien representatives nodded their approval or made sounds of agreement. 2 centuries of human service, sacrifice, and loyalty meant nothing to them. On the soul's pride, Captain Minho received a priority message from Earth. Admiral Chohana's face appeared on his private screen. The Supreme Commander of Earth's military forces looked tired but determined. Captain, she said, prepare for immediate departure. Recall all human personnel from Council facilities. We are implementing Protocol 7. Minho knew what Protocol 7 meant. It was the plan Earth had hoped never to use: complete withdrawal from galactic affairs. Understood, Admiral. What about our people still on the station? Ambassador Kim knows what to do. Just be ready to move when he gives the signal. In the council chamber, Kim stood quietly for a long moment. The alien representatives waited, expecting him to accept their demands as humans always did. Instead, he straightened his shoulders and spoke in a clear, strong voice. The people of Earth reject these demands. We also formally withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. All human personnel will be evacuated from council space within 24 hours. The chamber erupted in shocked sounds from dozens of different species. Never in the Council's 3,000-year history had a member species voluntarily left. Kelphas flashed through several colors before settling on a deep purple that meant confusion. You cannot leave the council, he said. No species can survive alone in the galaxy. You will crawl back to us within a year, begging for readmission. Kim smiled coldly. Perhaps, but you will learn something important while we are gone. You will discover what the galaxy looks like without humans to solve your problems. He turned and walked toward the exit. The alien representatives called after him, some with threats, others with promises, but Kim did not look back. As he reached the door, he spoke one final time. We leave you to the galaxy you deserve. On the Soul's Pride, Captain Minho watched as Kim's shuttle departed from Harmony Prime. All around the station, human ships began moving away. Transport vessels carried diplomats, scientists, and trade representatives. Military escorts formed. Protective formations around the civilian craft. Dr. Park Ji-won looked up from her datapad. Captain, I'm detecting massive communication traffic between council member worlds. They seem to be in a panic. Good, Minho said. Let them panic. They just threw away the best friends they ever had. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. During that time, reports began arriving from across the galaxy. Human peacekeeping forces were abandoning their posts in 12 different sectors. Trade stations operated by human companies were shutting down. Diplomatic missions were packing up and leaving worlds where they had worked for decades on Earth. Admiral Cho Hana stood in the military command center, watching displays that showed the positions of every human ship in the galaxy. Slowly, but steadily, the dots representing human vessels moved toward Earth space. How long until the last of our people are home? She asked. General Kong Sulji, head of strategic planning, checked his reports. 72 hours, Admiral. The evacuation is proceeding smoothly. No alien forces have tried to stop us. They're still in shock, Hannah said. But that won't last long. When they realize what we actually did, the real problems will begin. She was right. 3 days after Kim's announcement, the first signs of trouble appeared. In the Tau Ceti sector, the Kroger Empire launched attacks against the peaceful Zenithian coalition. For over a century, human peacekeepers had kept these two species from fighting. Now there was no one to stop them. The Galactic Council's emergency response fleet arrived at Tau Ceti 6 days too late. 3 Zenithian worlds had already been destroyed. When the Council forces finally engaged the Kroger fleet, they were defeated in less than 4 hours. They had grown weak from centuries of depending on human military support. On Earth, Kim sat in his office reading reports from across the galaxy. Each one told the same story: conflicts erupting, trade networks collapsing, and alien species struggling to handle problems they had always left to humans. President Lee Tae-min called an emergency meeting of Earth's leadership. In the conference room sat Admiral Hannah, General Kong, Dr. Park, and Kim himself. The weight of their decision pressed down on them all. Are we doing the right thing? President Lee asked. Billions of innocent beings will suffer because of what we've done. Kim looked around the table at his colleagues. They called us primitives and servants. They treated us like children who couldn't be trusted with important decisions. Now they'll learn what those primitives were actually doing for them. Admiral Hannah activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked areas where fighting had broken out. Yellow dots showed economic problems. In just 3 days, dozens of trouble spots had appeared. It's going to get much worse before it gets better, she said. But maybe that's what they need to understand our true value. Dr. Park cleared her throat. I've been analyzing our technological development over the past 2 centuries. The Council's restrictions held us back significantly. Now that we're free from their limitations, we can advance much faster. Kim nodded. Then let's make sure that when they come begging for our return, and they will, we'll be strong enough to dictate our own terms. Outside Earth's atmosphere, human ships took defensive positions around their homeworld. For the first time in 200 years, humanity stood alone among the stars. The galaxy would soon learn what it meant to lose the humans who had been keeping their civilization together. 3 months passed since Earth left the Galactic Council. Captain Oseo Jin sat in the command chair of the intelligence ship Bizan's Eye, hidden in the asteroid field near the Vega system. Her mission was simple: watch what happened to the galaxy without humans to keep the peace. The news was not good. "Captain," called Lieutenant Bei Suho from his monitoring station, "I'm receiving reports from the Tau Ceti sector. The Kroger Empire has destroyed 2 more Zenithian worlds. The Council's peacekeeping fleet retreated after losing half their ships." Seojin shook her head. The Kroger had been a minor threat when human forces kept them in check. Now they were rampaging across 3 star systems, and no one seemed able to stop them. "What about the economic situation?" she asked. Lieutenant Chun Soyan looked up from her analysis station. "It's worse than we predicted, Captain. 17 trade routes have completely collapsed. The Altarian medical supplies that normally reach the Outer Rim colonies are stuck in warehouses because no one can guarantee safe transport on Earth." Merchant Lee Nagam stood before the Emergency Economic Council, explaining what he saw happening across the galaxy. Charts and graphs covered the walls, all showing the same thing: complete economic breakdown. "The alien species built their trade networks around our cargo ships and trading posts," he said. "They assumed human vessels would always be available to carry their goods through dangerous space. Now their own ships are too small, too slow, or too vulnerable to replace what we provided." President Lee Tiemann studied the reports. Food shortages were appearing on colonies that had depended on human-managed supply lines. Medical emergencies went unaddressed because alien doctors couldn't reach patients without human transport ships. "How bad will it get?" the president asked. Nagam's expression was grim. "Sir, within 6 months, dozens of worlds will face famine. The aliens never learned to manage interstellar commerce on their own. They just gave orders and expected humans to make it work." Meanwhile, in the far reaches of the galaxy, the Keth hive mind was discovering an even more serious problem. Engineer Lim Doyong had spent years secretly maintaining the biotechnology that allowed Keth colonies to survive on hostile worlds. Now those systems were failing. Queen Node Zathara felt the distress of 12 dying colonies through her neural link. The terraforming equipment was breaking down, and none of her worker drones understood how to repair it. The technology had always seemed to maintain itself, but that was because human engineers had been quietly fixing problems. Before they became serious, she sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council, demanding they force humanity to return and fix the equipment. But the Council had no power to force anything anymore. Their authority had depended entirely on humans to enforce their decisions. On the research station orbiting Mars, Dr. Park Ji-won worked with a team of Earth's best scientists. For the first time in 2 centuries, they could pursue any research they wanted without Council approval. The results were remarkable. "The quantum field equations were completely wrong," she told Admiral Chohana during their weekly briefing. "The Council's restrictions prevented us from discovering faster methods of space travel. We can now build ships that move twice as fast as anything in the galaxy. What about weapons?" the Admiral asked. Dr. Park's smile was cold. "The Council banned most effective military technologies as too dangerous for primitive species. Without those restrictions, we've developed defensive systems that could stop a full Vorthic battle fleet." Hannah nodded. She had expected something like this. The Council had always claimed their limitations were for everyone's safety, but it was clear they just wanted to keep other species weak and dependent. Back in space, Captain Oh Seo-jin received a priority transmission from Earth Intelligence Command. Colonel Young Soo-young's face appeared on the screen, looking worried. "Captain, we're detecting massive fleet movements near human space. It looks like several alien species are planning coordinated attacks on our territory." Seo-jin wasn't surprised. "They think we're vulnerable now that we don't have Council protection." "What species are involved?" "The Neltharian hegemony is massing ships near the Ross 128 system. Vorthak battle groups are moving toward our mining colonies in Orion sector. Even some of the smaller species are joining in, thinking they can grab easy territory." On Harmony Prime, the remaining Council members held emergency session after emergency session, but nothing they did seemed to help. The Kroger continued their rampage. Trade networks remained broken. Colony worlds sent increasingly desperate Pleas for aid that the council couldn't provide. Council leader Kelphas had lost his previous arrogance. His crystalline form flickered between colors as he struggled to maintain control of the situation. "We must contact the humans," he said to the assembled representatives. "Perhaps we can negotiate some kind of limited partnership." Neltharion Representative Vexstar swirled angrily in his containment suit. "Absolutely not. We cannot show weakness by crawling to those primitives. We just need more time to organize proper responses to these problems." But time was exactly what they didn't have. Every day brought new disasters. The Zenithian coalition was down to just 4 worlds and facing complete extinction. 15 different border conflicts had erupted as species tried to claim territory left unguarded by human peacekeepers on Earth. Ambassador Kim Tae-young sat in his new office as head of the Foreign Analysis Department. His job was to monitor galactic affairs and predict how they would affect Earth. The predictions were not encouraging for the aliens. "The Galactic Council will collapse within 2 years, he told President Lee during their morning briefing. "Maybe. Sooner. They've lost all credibility as a governing body." "What about threats to Earth?" The president asked. Kim activated a holographic display showing ship movements throughout the galaxy. "Multiple species are preparing to attack us, believing we're defenseless without council protection. They'll learn otherwise soon enough." Indeed, the first test came just days later. A Neltharion fleet of 30 ships approached the human colony. World of New Sol, expecting to find it poorly defended. Instead, they encountered something they had never seen before. Captain Song Yuki commanded the defense force protecting New Sol. Her ships were equipped with the new technology Dr. Park's team had developed: stealth systems, advanced shields, and weapons that could penetrate any known alien armor. The Neltharion commander sent a standard surrender demand, expecting the humans to panic. Captain Song's response was broadcast on all frequencies so the entire galaxy could hear it. "This is Captain Song Yuki of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered human space without permission and with hostile intent. You have 10 seconds to retreat or we will destroy your entire fleet." The Neltharion commander laughed, a sound like rushing wind through his translator. 30 ships against your 5? You humans were always poor at mathematics. 7 seconds, Song replied calmly. The Neltharions opened fire first, sending massive energy beams toward the human ships. The beams passed harmlessly through empty space as the human vessels simply vanished from sight. "Stealth technology," gasped the Neltharion sensor operator. "How is that possible?" The answer came in the form of weapons fire that seemed to appear from nowhere. Human ships, invisible to alien sensors, systematically destroyed the Neltharion fleet. In less than 15 minutes, 29 enemy vessels were either destroyed or disabled. Only one ship escaped to bring news of the defeat. Back to the hegemony. Captain Oseo-jin watched the battle from her hidden position and immediately transmitted the results to Earth Command. Within hours, every intelligence agency in the galaxy knew what had happened. The humans weren't defenseless victims. They were predators who had been holding back their true capabilities on Earth. Admiral Hanna reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. "That should make the other species think twice about attacking us. How are our other preparations going?" General Kong smiled. "Better than expected, Admiral. Every human colony is now defended by the new technology. Our ship production has increased by 300% since we left the Council. And Dr. Park's team has developed something even more interesting." "What's that?" "Self-replicating defensive satellites. We can protect entire star systems with just a few deployed units. Any attacking fleet would face thousands of automated defenders." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the consequences of humanity's withdrawal continued to unfold. The Keth hive mind lost 2 more colonies when their life support systems failed. The Kroger Empire expanded their territory again, destroying an ancient Vorthic crystal garden world that had existed for 10,000 years. Most significantly, smaller species began reaching out to Earth directly, bypassing the Council entirely. The first was the Altarian Republic, whose medical research facilities needed human-built equipment to function. Dr. Choi Byamju, Earth's expert on alien psychology met with the Altarian delegation in Geneva. The aliens were clearly desperate, offering trade agreements and mutual defense pacts in exchange for resumed human cooperation. "We understand now," said Altarian speaker Rendell, her insect-like features showing obvious distress. "The Council never provided security or prosperity. You did. We wish to establish direct relations with Earth independent of Council authority." Dr. Troy consighed. 6 months after Earth left the Galactic Council, the galaxy was burning. Fleet Admiral Yun Jengen stood on the bridge of the flagship Unity's Dawn, watching as human colonies prepared for what everyone knew was coming, a massive alien invasion. The intelligence reports were clear. The Vorthek Empire, the Neltharian hegemony, and 12 smaller species had formed an alliance to destroy humanity. They believed that if they could crush Earth quickly, they could force the surviving humans back into slavery and restore the old order. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Admiral," called Captain Hong Yun-woo from the communications station, "we're receiving surrender demands from the Vorthak fleet approaching Orion sector. They want us to abandon our mining colonies and submit to Council authority." Jengen smiled coldly. The Vorthak had brought their largest battle fleet, 300 crystalline warships that had conquered dozens of worlds over the centuries. Against any other species, it would have been overwhelming force. "Send them our standard response," he ordered. The message was simple and had become famous throughout human space. Earth recognizes no authority but its own. Any alien vessel found in human territory will be destroyed without warning. In the Orion sector, Captain Song Yuki prepared her defense force for the coming battle. Her 20 ships looked pathetically small compared to the massive Vorthak fleet, but appearances were deceiving. Each human vessel carried technology that the aliens had never seen before. Dr. Huang Jisung's new weapons could shatter crystalline Vorthak armor like glass. The stealth systems made human ships nearly invisible. Most importantly, the tactical computers could coordinate attacks with a precision that no alien fleet could match. "All ships, this is Captain Song," she announced to her fleet. "Remember, we're not just defending our colonies. We're showing the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. Make them remember this day." The Vorthak fleet moved into attack formation, their crystal ships gleaming in the light of Orion's stars. Fleet Commander Sekthal felt confident as he studied the enemy positions. 20 human ships against 300 Vorthak vessels. It would be a massacre. "Open fire," he ordered. "Destroy them all?" Thousands of energy beams lanced through space toward the human positions, but the beams hit nothing. The human ships had vanished the moment the Vorthak opened fire, leaving the aliens shooting at empty space. "Where did they go?" demanded Sekthal. His answer came in the form of weapons fire that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Human ships appeared behind, above, and below the Vorthak formation, their new weapons slicing through crystal armor like it was paper. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human vessels moved like ghosts, appearing just long enough to destroy their targets before vanishing again. Vorthak ships exploded in showers of crystal fragments, their commanders unable to understand what was happening. In 30 minutes, the entire Vorthak battle fleet was destroyed. Only a few damaged ships escaped to carry news of the defeat back to their empire. Captain Song's force hadn't lost a single vessel, but the Orion battle was just the beginning. Across the galaxy, other alien fleets were learning the same hard lesson. In the Ross 128 system, the Neltharian hegemony's pride, a fleet of gas giant harvester ships protected by 200 escort vessels, met Fleet Admiral Yun Jengen's main battle group. The Neltharians expected to overwhelm the humans with superior numbers and ancient battle experience. Instead, they encountered weapons that attacked their gas form biology directly. Human ships deployed viral computer programs that invaded Neltharian navigation systems. Most terrifying of all, the humans used psychological warfare tactics that drove entire enemy crews to panic. When the battle ended, the Neltharian fleet was not just defeated, it was annihilated so completely that other gas-form species, refused to fight humans for the next 100 years, but the real shock was yet to come. The Keth hive mind, desperate to reclaim the biotechnology that kept their colonies alive, launched the largest military operation in their species' history. 10,000 ships carrying billions of warrior drones headed straight for Earth itself. Queen Node Zithara had calculated that even if humans had new weapons, no force in the galaxy could stand against such overwhelming numbers she would capture Earth's leaders and force them to maintain Keth technology forever. Admiral Chohana watched the approaching hive fleet from Earth's orbital defense station. Around the Sol system, thousands of automated satellites waited in silent readiness. Hidden throughout the asteroid belt, human ships equipped with the most advanced technology Earth had ever produced prepared for the ultimate battle. They brought their entire military, she said to General Kongsulji. Good, we can finish this threat once and for all. The Battle of Sol became the stuff of legend. The Keth fleet, expecting to face desperate human resistance, instead encountered a defense network that seemed to think faster than their hive mind could process. Earth's automated defenses activated the moment the alien fleet entered the outer solar system. Self-replicating combat drones, each one smaller than a fighter craft, but armed with weapons that could destroy capital ships, swarmed the Keth formation in impossible numbers. The warrior drones tried to adapt, but human tactical computers were already 3 steps ahead of their every move. For every drone they destroyed, 10 more appeared. For every ship they managed to protect, 20 others fell to attacks. They couldn't predict or counter, but the humans saved their most devastating weapon for last. Dr. Park Jiwon's team had discovered that Keth neural networks operated on specific frequencies that could be disrupted. When the human fleet activated their psychic jammers, the entire hive mind fleet fell into chaos. Billions of warrior drones suddenly found themselves cut off from their shared consciousness. Ships collided with each other as pilots lost coordination. The unified Keth battle plan collapsed into random, panicked movements. When the battle ended 12 hours later, the Keth hive fleet was completely destroyed. Worse, the psychic disruption had permanently damaged their hive mind network. The Keth civilization, which had existed as a unified entity for 50,000 years, fragmented into thousands of separate, confused groups. Queen Node Zithara, her mind broken by the neural feedback, spent her remaining days staring at empty space and muttering about the silence where the song used to be. The news of humanity's victory spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communications. Alien civilizations that had planned to join the anti-human alliance suddenly found urgent reasons to remain neutral. Species that had been preparing invasion fleets quietly sent them home on Harmony Prime. The Galactic Council held an emergency session. The chamber that had once been filled with dozens of proud alien representatives now held only 12 desperate survivors. Council leader Kelthas had lost all his previous arrogance. His crystalline form flickered weakly as he struggled to comprehend. What had happened? The humans have destroyed our 3 most powerful military forces, he said, his voice barely audible. The Vorthek battle fleet that conquered the Andromeda sector is gone. The Neltharian hegemony's Grand Armada exists only in history books. The Keth hive mind, which once controlled 1,000 worlds, has been shattered into fragments. Representative Vexstar, the Neltharian who had called humans primitives just months earlier, swirled frantically in his containment suit. How is this possible? They were servants. They followed our orders. Where did they get such terrible weapons? Ambassador Park Minho, who had been quietly observing the Council's deliberations from Earth's intelligence network, knew the answer. The humans had always possessed the capability for such destruction. They had simply chosen not to use it while serving the galaxy's peace, but the galaxy had rejected their service, called them primitives, and threatened their children. Now they would face the consequences of awakening humanity's true nature. The military victories were impressive, but they were only part of a larger transformation. While alien fleets burned in human space, Earth's colonies were expanding at an unprecedented rate. New worlds were being terraformed in months instead of years using technology that the Council had banned as too dangerous. Engineer Nam Woo-young's Terraforming systems could transform dead rocks into garden worlds almost overnight. The same technology that created paradise for humans could strip the atmosphere from enemy planets if necessary. Dr. Kim Jong-ho's research teams, freed from council restrictions, made breakthrough after breakthrough. They developed faster-than-light communication that didn't require the quantum crystal networks the aliens controlled. They created medical treatments that could extend human life by centuries. They built manufacturing systems that could construct entire cities in days. Most importantly, they proved that human innovation, when unrestricted, could surpass anything the galaxy had ever seen, but the greatest shock was still to come. As alien civilizations struggled with the collapse of galactic order, they began to notice something that terrified them more than human weapons. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were building something new. Dote species that had been abandoned by the failing council started receiving offers from Earth, not demands or ultimatums, but genuine proposals for mutual cooperation. The humans offered protection, trade, and technology. 1 year had passed since Earth severed ties with the Galactic Council. The great station Harmony Prime, once the center of galactic civilization, now felt like a tomb. Council leader Kelthas stood before the emergency assembly, his crystalline form flickering weakly in the dim light. Only 12 species remained in the council. The others had either been destroyed in wars, collapsed economically, or quietly joined the growing human federation. The chamber that once held hundreds of representatives now echoed with emptiness. "We must face the truth," Kelthas said, his voice carrying none of its former arrogance. "Without human mediation, 47 major conflicts have erupted across the galaxy. Without human trade networks, 17 civilizations face economic collapse. Without human peacekeepers, the Kroger Empire has expanded into territories we held for millennia." Neltharian Representative Vexstar swirled anxiously in his containment suit. "Surely we can adapt. We ruled the galaxy for thousands of years before the humans arrived. That was when we had thousands of member species and vast resources," Kelthas replied. "Now we control less than 12% of galactic space. The Federation grows stronger every day while we grow weaker." The truth was even worse than they admitted publicly. General Kang Sulji's intelligence reports, secretly intercepted by the Council, showed the devastating reality. The Human Federation now included 29 species and controlled over 40% of the galaxy's inhabited worlds. More importantly, they were actually governing those worlds successfully. In the Swiss Alps on Earth, Ambassador Kim Tae-young prepared for a meeting. That would have been unthinkable a year ago. Council leader Kelthas himself was coming to Earth, along with representatives from the surviving council species, to beg for humanity's return. President Lee Tiemann reviewed the briefing materials in his office. "What do we know about their mental state?" he asked. Dr. Choi Byung-ju, Earth's expert on alien psychology, had been studying intercepted communications from council space. "They're in complete denial about the power shift that's occurred. They still think they can offer U.S. junior membership in exchange for solving their problems." "And our position?" Kim smiled coldly. "We're not interested in rejoining their council. We're building something better." The delegation arrived at Geneva's diplomatic quarter in ships that showed signs of poor maintenance. The proud Vorthak vessels that had once gleamed like jewels now had obvious repair patches. The Neltharian cloud ships leaked atmospheric gases. Even their escort fighters looked tired and worn. Kelthas entered the meeting room with as much dignity as he could manage, but everyone present could see how much he had changed. The proud crystal being who had once dismissed humans as primitives now moved with the careful steps of someone who knew they were beaten. "Ambassador Kim," he began, "the Galactic Council offers Earth full senior membership, expanded territory, and unlimited research rights in exchange for resumed cooperation." Kim let the silence stretch for a long moment before responding. "You misunderstand our position, Leader Kelthas. We're not interested in rejoining your council. We're building something better." The alien delegates looked confused. Vexstar spoke up, his gas form swirling faster with agitation. "Better? What could be better than the council that has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years? Captain Chun Soyan, now serving as a Federation diplomat, activated a holographic display that filled the room. It showed the current state of galactic civilization, with Federation space marked in blue and Council space in red. "This is the galaxy today," she said calmly. "Federation space shows steady economic growth, technological advancement, and peaceful expansion. Council space shows declining population, technological stagnation, and constant warfare." The display zoomed in to show specific examples. New Sol, a human colony established just months ago, already had a thriving population of 3 million beings from 7 different species. Trade flowed freely through Federation space using new transportation networks that didn't require Council-controlled infrastructure. In contrast, former Council worlds showed abandoned cities, failing life support systems, and desperate populations. Fleeing to Federation territory. Dr. Choi Byung-ju stood to address the alien delegation. "Over the past year, we've conducted extensive analysis of galactic affairs. The statistics are quite clear." She activated another display showing population figures, economic data, and technological advancement rates. The numbers told a story of complete reversal. Where the Council once dominated, the Federation now led in every measurable category. "Galactic population in Council space has declined by 38%, she continued. "Economic output has dropped by 64%. Technological advancement has essentially stopped. At current rates, the remaining Council civilizations will face extinction within a decade." Kelthos' crystalline form flashed through several colors indicating distress. "Surely these problems can be solved with human assistance. We offer you leadership positions, unlimited resources, anything you require." Kim shook his head. "You still don't understand. We don't want to fix your broken system. We've already built a better one." The revelation hit the alien delegates like a physical blow. For months, they had assumed the humans were simply angry and would eventually return to their proper place as galactic servants. The idea that humanity had actually created a superior alternative had never occurred to them. Engineer Nam Woo-yong entered the meeting room and activated a communication link to the Federation's newest colony world. The view screen showed a thriving city being constructed in real time using advanced human technology. "This is New Harmony," he said. 6 months ago, it was a dead rock. Today, it houses 2 million beings from 12 different species. Federation terraforming technology can transform entire worlds in months instead of centuries. The alien delegates stared in shock at the images. The city being built before their eyes surpassed anything in Council space for both beauty and functionality. Multiple species worked together in perfect harmony, using technology that seemed almost magical in its capabilities. "How is this possible?" whispered a small delegate from the Catherian Republic, one of the few remaining Council members. "Simple," replied Dr. Park Ji-won, entering the room with a tablet full of technical data. "We removed the restrictions your Council placed on human innovation. In 1 year, we've advanced further than we did in the previous century of Council membership." She displayed images of Federation ships moving through space at speeds that made Council vessels look like they were standing still. Medical technology that could regrow entire limbs in hours. Manufacturing systems that could build starships in days instead of years. "Every regulation your Council imposed on dangerous human research has been proven unnecessary," Dr. Park continued. "We've developed technologies that make your quantum crystal networks obsolete. We can communicate instantly across galactic distances without any infrastructure you control." The implications slowly dawned on the alien delegates. Not only had humanity built a better government and economic system, they had surpassed Council technology so completely that the old civilization was now primitive by comparison. Ambassador Park Min-ho, who had been quietly observing the proceedings, finally spoke. "The Federation represents everything the Council claimed to be but never was. True equality among species, fair distribution of resources, peaceful expansion based on cooperation rather than conquest. He activated one final display showing Federation membership applications. 17 more species had requested to join. Just in the past month, including 3 that had been founding members of the original council. You see, Park continued, we're not trying to destroy the council. We're simply offering a better alternative. Species can choose between your failing system and our growing one. Kelthos made one last desperate attempt. The Council agrees to dissolve our existing structure and reform with humanity as the dominant species. You can reshape galactic civilization however you choose. Kim stood and walked to the window overlooking Lake Geneva. In the distance, construction crews were building new Federation facilities that would house diplomatic missions from dozens of species. Leader Kelthos, he said without turning around, you've missed the point entirely. We're not interested in dominating anyone. The Federation succeeds because it treats all members as equals. That's a concept your species has never understood. The meeting ended with the alien delegation returning to their ships empty-handed. As they prepared to depart Earth, they sent one final message to their homeworlds. The humans have moved beyond us. They no longer need us, and we can no longer control them. 3 days later, the first of the remaining Council species formally applied for Federation membership. The Cytherian Republic, facing complete economic collapse, offered to surrender their entire territory in exchange for Federation protection and technology. Within a week, 4 more Council species had submitted membership applications. The Great Galactic Council, which had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, was dissolving before everyone's eyes. On Harmony Prime, Kelthos stood alone in the vast council chamber. The other delegates had returned to their worlds to prepare, surrender documents, or plan their own membership applications. Only he remained, the last guardian of an 2 years after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, the galaxy had been completely transformed. President Lee Tiemann stood before the Federation Assembly on New Geneva Station, addressing representatives from 47 different species in the largest democratic gathering in galactic history. The station itself was a marvel that showcased Federation technology and philosophy. Unlike the rigid crystal architecture of Harmony Prime, New Geneva Station was designed as a living ecosystem where multiple species could thrive together. Gardens from a dozen worlds grew in carefully maintained atmospheric zones, while beings of all shapes and sizes worked side by side in perfect harmony. My fellow Federation citizens, President Lee began, speaking in the melodious common language that had evolved naturally from decades of interspecies cooperation. Today we celebrate not the dominance of one species over others, but the success of partnership among equals. In the assembly hall, crystalline Vorthak representatives sat next to gaseous Neltharians, while insectoid Altarians shared datapads with mammalian humans. The diversity was staggering, but, unlike the old Council's forced hierarchy, this mixing felt natural and productive. Admiral Park Cheong, commander of the Federation Defense Force, reviewed the latest intelligence reports from her flagship. New Earth's pride? The contrast with 2 years ago was remarkable. Where the galaxy had once burned with constant warfare, most sectors now enjoyed unprecedented peace. Admiral, called Captain Lim Doyong from the communications station, we're receiving a distress call from the Kepler 442 system. It appears to be from Kroger Empire ships. Park raised an eyebrow. The Kroger had been the galaxy's most aggressive species, expanding their territory through constant warfare while the Council proved incapable of stopping them. Now they were calling for help. What's their situation? She asked. They claim to be under attack by something called Void Seekers. According to their message, these attackers consume entire worlds, leaving nothing but dead rock behind. Park activated the fleet's tactical displays. The Void Seekers were legendary, a nomadic species that had appeared occasionally throughout galactic history, destroying civilizations before vanishing back into deep space. If they had returned, it represented a threat to every living world in the galaxy. Set course for Kepler 442, she ordered. Alert all Federation fleets to prepare for potential Void Seeker encounters. On Earth, Dr. Kim Jong-ho studied the latest reports from the Federation's technology sharing initiative. The program had produced innovations that surpassed even his optimistic projections. When species freely shared knowledge instead of hoarding it for political advantage, scientific progress accelerated exponentially. The medical breakthrough from the Altarian research team is remarkable, he told his staff during the morning briefing. Combined with human regenerative technology and Zenithian defensive biology, we've essentially eliminated disease as a major threat to Federation citizens. Engineer Nam Wuyong nodded enthusiastically. The terraforming projects are exceeding all expectations as well. We're transforming dead worlds into garden paradises in months instead of years. The Vorthek crystalline agriculture techniques, combined with human soil management and Neltharian atmospheric processing, can make any planet habitable. The success wasn't just technological. The Federation's economic system had created prosperity that even the old Council's golden age couldn't match. Free trade between truly equal partners generated wealth that benefited everyone rather than concentrating power in the hands of a few dominant species. Merchant Li Agyum, now head of the Federation Trade Commission, presented statistics that would have seemed impossible just 2 years earlier. Trade volume has increased by 800% since the Federation's founding. Every member world shows steady economic growth, and we've eliminated the resource scarcity that plagued the galaxy for millennia. But the Federation's greatest achievement was philosophical. For the first time in galactic history, species were working together because they chose to, not because they were forced to by political pressure or military threats. Diplomat Hong Yunwoo, now serving as Federation Foreign Minister, had witnessed this transformation firsthand during the recent negotiations with the surviving council. Remnants, representatives who had once looked down on humans as primitives, now spoke with genuine respect and admiration. The last 5 independent council systems have formally requested Federation membership, he reported to President Lee. That will bring our total to 52 member species, controlling nearly 80% of the galaxy's inhabited worlds. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The species that had once dismissed human leadership were now begging to be led by the Federation that humanity had built. In the Kepler 442 system, Admiral Park's fleet encountered something that chilled even veteran human military commanders. The Void Seekers had brought their largest force in recorded history, massive ships the size of small moons, each one capable of stripping the atmosphere from an entire world. The Kroger Empire's once mighty fleet was in full retreat, their aggressive warrior culture completely broken by an enemy they couldn't understand or fight. When Admiral Park opened communications with the Kroger commander, she saw something unprecedented. A Kroger leader showing fear. Federation vessels, gasped War Leader Krexenol through his translator. We surrender all territorial claims and request immediate asylum. These Void Seekers are unlike anything we have ever fought. They do not seek conquest or resources, they seek only destruction. Park studied the tactical displays showing the Void Seeker formations. The enemy ships moved with coordination. That suggested a hive mind, but their technology was clearly more advanced than even current Federation standards. War Leader, why are the Void Seekers here? They haven't been seen in this galaxy for over 1,000 years. Krexenol's response revealed the true scope of the crisis. They came because the old council made a pact with them. In their desperation to destroy the Federation, the surviving council species offered the Void Seekers Federation territory in exchange for military support. The revelation shocked Park and her crew, the same species that had once claimed to be guardians of galactic civilization had allied with destroyers of worlds in a desperate attempt to regain power. Admiral, called Lieutenant Bei Suho from the sensor station, the Void Seeker fleet is changing course. They're heading directly for us. Park activated the fleet's new defensive systems. Dr. Huang Jisung's team had developed weapons and shields that could handle any known threat, but the Void Seekers used technology that operated on completely different principles. The battle that followed would become legend throughout the galaxy. The Void Seekers brought weapons that could collapse. Stars and ships that seemed to absorb energy instead of taking damage. Any other civilization would have been destroyed in minutes, but the Federation fleet had something the Void Seekers hadn't encountered before: true cooperation between multiple species working as one. Human tactical innovation combined with Vorthak energy manipulation, Neltharian atmospheric warfare, and Altarian biological attacks created a defensive strategy that confused and overwhelmed the enemy. More importantly, the Federation had learned from every species they encountered, including their enemies. Dr. Park Ji-won's research teams had been studying Void Seeker technology for months, preparing for exactly this confrontation. When Admiral Park gave the order to activate the new anti-void weapons, something unprecedented happened. The planet-consuming ships that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia began shutting down. Their world-killing technology turned against them by Federation engineers who had reverse-engineered and improved their own systems. The Void Seeker fleet wasn't just defeated, it was captured intact, something no civilization had ever accomplished. Within hours, Federation science teams were boarding the alien vessels and discovering technology that would advance galactic civilization by thousands of years. Captain Chun Soyan, leading one of the boarding teams, found something even more valuable than technology. Deep in the Void Seeker command ship, she discovered detailed records of their alliance with the Council remnants. President Lee, she reported via quantum communication, the evidence is clear. The former Council species made a formal agreement to trade Federation worlds to the Void Seekers in exchange for help destroying our government. The revelation spread throughout Federation space within hours. Species that had been considering neutral positions in the galactic transformation immediately applied for Federation membership. No one wanted to be associated with leaders who would ally with world destroyers out of petty spite. On New Geneva Station, the Federation Assembly convened an emergency session to address the crisis. Unlike the old Council's closed-door meetings, the proceedings were broadcast throughout the galaxy for all species to witness. President Lee addressed the Assembly with characteristic calm. The evidence shows that desperate leaders will commit any atrocity to maintain power. This is why the Federation operates through democratic cooperation rather than authoritarian control. The response from Federation members was swift and unified. Not only did they unanimously condemn the Council's actions, they voted to offer protection to any species threatened by similar agreements. Within 5 years had passed since the Human Federation defeated the Void Seekers and ended the last threat from the old Galactic Council. Dr. Choi Byamju stood in the observation deck of Research Station New Horizon, watching as teams of scientists from 30 different species worked together to unlock the secrets of deep space. The Federation had grown beyond even humanity's wildest dreams. 62 species now called themselves Federation citizens, and their combined territories covered 95% of the galaxy's inhabited systems. More importantly, this wasn't an empire built on conquest. It was a voluntary union based on shared principles and mutual benefit. Dr. Choi, called engineer Huang Jisung from his workstation, the deep space sensors are detecting something unusual in the Andromeda sector. Multiple civilizations that we've never encountered before, and they're all heading this way. Choi activated the main display and studied the sensor readings. Hundreds of ships from dozens of unknown species were approaching Federation space. Their technology signatures were completely unfamiliar, suggesting they came from outside the galaxy entirely. Are they hostile? She asked. Unknown. Their ships are clearly advanced, but they're not approaching in attack formations. It looks more like digression. President Lee Tiemann received the report at his office on New Geneva Station. The arrival of unknown civilizations was the kind of challenge that had always tested galactic governments. The old council would have immediately prepared for war or attempted to establish dominance over the newcomers. The Federation's response was characteristically different. Schedule a diplomatic contact mission, President Lee ordered. Send Ambassador Hong Yunwoo with a full diplomatic team. We'll treat these newcomers as potential friends until they prove otherwise. The decision reflected the Federation's core philosophy. Cooperation was always the first option. Force was always the last resort. It was a principle that had served them well for 5 years, but it had never been tested on this scale. Captain Song Yuki commanded the diplomatic vessel Peaceful Contact as it approached the newcomer fleet. Her ship was heavily armed but projected no weapon signatures. The message was clear. The Federation was prepared to defend itself if necessary, but preferred to make friends. Unknown vessels, she broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Song Yuki of the Human Federation. We welcome you to our galaxy and offer peaceful contact with your civilizations. The response came in a language unlike anything in the Federation's databases, but their translation computers quickly adapted. The voice that answered was melodious and strangely hopeful. Federation vessels, this is Speaker Melandra of the Wanderer Alliance. We thank you for your welcome. We are refugees seeking safe harbor from a dying galaxy. Ambassador Hang Yunwu took over the negotiations from the diplomatic suite. As Federation Foreign Minister, he had handled first contact with dozens of species. But this was different. These weren't individual civilizations, they represented an entire galactic community fleeing some terrible disaster. Speaker Melandra, I am Ambassador Hang Yunwu. The Federation offers sanctuary to all peaceful beings. What calamity has driven you from your home galaxy? The answer chilled everyone listening. Our galaxy is being consumed by something we call the entropy storm, a wave of destructive energy that unmakes matter itself. We are the last survivors of 300 civilizations that once thrived among our stars. Dr. Park Ji-won, monitoring the conversation from Earth immediately, understood the implications. If the refugees were telling the truth, they represented the accumulated knowledge and culture of an entire galaxy. Their survival could benefit the Federation immeasurably, but their presence might also bring unknown dangers. President Lee made the decision that would define the Federation's character for generations to come. All refugee ships are granted immediate sanctuary in Federation space. We'll provide temporary housing while we work together to find permanent solutions. The announcement sparked debate throughout Federation space. Some species worried about resource strain from supporting millions of refugees. Others feared that the entropy storm might follow the survivors to their new galaxy, but the majority of Federation citizens supported their government's decision. Admiral Park Chae-young summarized the prevailing attitude during a military briefing. We didn't build the Federation to create a fortress. We built it to create a home for all peaceful beings. The integration process revealed just how far the Federation had evolved beyond the old galactic order. Instead of forcing the refugees into predetermined roles, Federation administrators worked with each newcomer civilization to identify their unique contributions and needs. The crystalline harmony builders could construct cities that seemed to grow naturally from planetary surfaces. The gaseous mindweavers possessed telepathic abilities that revolutionized communication technology. The mechanical precision crafters could manufacture equipment with tolerances measured in individual atoms. Engineer Nam Woo-young found himself coordinating the largest terraforming project in galactic history. Using combined Federation and refugee technology, entire star systems were transformed into garden worlds capable of supporting multiple species simultaneously. The Wanderer Alliance brings knowledge we never imagined, he reported to President Lee. Their galaxy-spanning experience with different physical laws and exotic matter could advance our understanding of the universe by thousands of years. But the greatest contribution was philosophical. The refugees brought stories of their home galaxy's last days, how cooperation had allowed 300 civilizations to work together in the face of absolute extinction, how they had chosen to save as many beings as possible rather than fight hopeless wars over dwindling resources. Dr. Kim Jong-ho studied the historical records provided by the Wanderer Alliance. Their approach to crisis management makes our own methods look primitive, he admitted. When faced with their galaxy's destruction, they didn't fragment into competing factions. They united completely and focused all their resources on survival. The lesson wasn't lost on Federation leadership. If their own galaxy ever faced similar threats, they would need even greater unity and cooperation than they had already achieved. That test came sooner than anyone expected. Captain Oseo Jin, now commanding the deep space monitoring vessel Farsight, detected troubling energy signatures at the galactic rim. The patterns matched descriptions of the entropy storm that had destroyed the refugees' home galaxy. President Lee, she reported via quantum communication, the entropy storm appears to be approaching our galaxy. Current projections give us approximately 10 years before it reaches inhabited systems. The news spread throughout Federation space, within hours triggering what could have been panic or civil war. Instead, it triggered the largest cooperative effort in galactic history. Speaker Melandra addressed the Federation Assembly alongside President Lee, sharing everything her people knew about fighting the entropy storm. In our galaxy we delayed. The storms advanced for 3 centuries through technological barriers and energy redirects, but we never found a way to stop it completely. Dr. Choi Byung-ju led a massive research initiative that combined the knowledge of over 70 civilizations: human innovation, Vorthak energy manipulation, void-seeker matter conversion, and dozens of other specialties focused on a single goal: finding a way to neutralize the entropy storm permanently. The storm isn't a natural phenomenon, she announced, after months of intensive research. It's a weapon created by beings from outside our dimension. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to turn it off. The revelation sparked new research directions that had never been possible under the old Council's restrictive regulations. Federation scientists began experiments with dimensional manipulation, temporal mechanics, and exotic energy forms that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Engineer Huang Zhiseng's team made the first breakthrough. The storm operates by reversing the fundamental forces that hold matter together. But the process requires massive amounts of dimensional energy to maintain. If we could disrupt that energy supply, we could stop the storm completely, finished Dr. Park Ji-won. Not just delay it or redirect it, but actually shut it down. The project that followed dwarfed even the construction of the Federation itself. Every member civilization contributed resources, knowledge, and personnel to build what became known as the Dimensional Anchor, a device that could stabilize space-time across an entire galaxy. Admiral Park Chae-young coordinated the military aspects of the project, ensuring that construction proceeded smoothly despite its unprecedented scale. "We're not just building a machine," she told her officers. "We're building proof that cooperation can overcome any threat." The work took 8 years. 8 years of different species learning to work together in ways that had never been imagined. 8 years of scientific breakthroughs that advanced galactic civilization by millennia. 8 years of proving that unity was stronger than any force in the universe. When the entropy storm finally reached the galactic rim, it encountered something that had never existed in any previous galaxy: a completely unified civilization, working in perfect harmony toward a common goal. The dimensional anchor activated precisely as planned. Energy patterns that had 10 years after defeating the entropy storm, the Human Federation had become something unprecedented in the universe, a truly intergalactic civilization. Dr. Lim Doyong stood in the command center of the massive space station Unity Prime, watching as exploration fleets prepared for their longest journey yet. The defeat of the entropy storm had opened pathways to other galaxies that had been blocked for millions of years. Federation scouts had discovered signs of civilizations struggling with the same dimensional weapons that had nearly destroyed their own galaxy. The decision was unanimous: they would share their knowledge and protection with anyone who needed it. "Dr. Lim," called Captain Yoon Jengen from the launch control station, "the first wave of contact ships is ready for departure. Destination: the Spiral Garden Galaxy, approximately 2.7 million light-years away." Lim nodded, studying the holographic displays that showed their target galaxy. Long-range sensors indicated hundreds of civilizations locked in desperate Conflict, many of them fighting early stages of entropy storm outbreaks. How long until arrival? She asked. With the new dimensional fold drives, approximately 6 months. The Wanderer Alliance refugees provided navigation data for 17 different galaxies in our local cluster. President Lee Tiemann, now in his second decade of Federation leadership, had insisted that their intergalactic expansion follow the same principles that had built their success at home. No conquest, no domination, only offers of friendship and mutual cooperation. Admiral Chohana, despite her advanced age, still commanded the Federation's military forces from her flagship Eternal Vigilance. The ship itself was a marvel that showcased how far Federation technology had advanced. Built using principles learned from 7 different galactic civilizations, it could travel between galaxies in months rather than millennia. "Admiral," reported her aide, Commander Park Minho, "intelligence suggests the Spiral Garden Galaxy is experiencing something we've never encountered: multiple entropy storms operating simultaneously. Their civilizations are fighting a multi-front war against dimensional destruction." Hannah studied the tactical projections with the experience of someone who had seen every form of galactic conflict. "Then they need our help more than anyone. Prepare the full intervention fleet. We're not just making contact, we're going to war against extinction itself." The departure of the Federation's first intergalactic mission was broadcast throughout their home galaxy. Citizens from dozens of species gathered to watch as the largest fleet in galactic history set course for unknown stars. Ambassador Hong Yunwoo, now serving as Intergalactic Relations Minister, addressed the assembled multitudes. "Today we extend the hand of friendship beyond our own galaxy. We go not as conquerors but as partners. We carry with us the proof that cooperation can overcome any threat." The journey through dimensional space was unlike anything even veteran Federation explorers had experienced. Dr. Wang Jisung's team had to constantly adjust the fold drives as they encountered energy patterns that didn't exist in their home galaxy. "The dimensional barriers between galaxies are breaking down," he reported to the fleet commanders. "Whatever created the entropy storms is operating on a much larger scale than we imagined. This isn't just about saving individual galaxies. It's about preserving the structure of reality itself." When the Federation fleet finally arrived in the Spiral Garden Galaxy, they found a civilization in its death throes. 3 separate entropy storms were consuming the galaxy from different directions, while the native species fought desperate holding actions that only delayed their destruction. Captain Song Yuki, now commanding the diplomatic vessel Infinite Hope, led the first contact mission to the galaxy's primary inhabited system. What they found broke the hearts of even veteran Federation diplomats. Billions of beings crowded onto the last safe worlds, watching as their home planets were consumed by storms that turned matter into nothingness. Ancient civilizations that had existed for millions of years were reduced to refugee fleets desperately searching for anywhere that might offer temporary safety. "Unknown vessels," came a weak transmission from the largest refugee ship. "This system is under evacuation order. All inhabitable worlds will be consumed within 72 hours. We cannot offer assistance to additional survivors." Captain Song activated her ship's translation systems and responded in the most reassuring tone she could manage. "Refugee vessels, this is Captain Song Yuki of the Human Federation. We're here to help. We have a way to stop the entropy storms permanently." The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. When the alien commander finally responded, his voice carried a desperate hope that nearly brought tears to Song's eyes. "Federation vessels... Did you say you can stop the storms? We are Cosmic Mind Velthara of the Spiral Garden Alliance. We have lost 800 worlds to these dimensional destroyers. If you truly possess such capability, we pledge everything we have to your cause." Ambassador Hong Yunwoo took over the negotiations from the command bridge. Unlike the old Galactic Council's approach of demanding submission, he offered partnership from the very first contact. "Cosmic Mind Velthara, we offer our assistance. Freely, the Federation has successfully stopped entropy storms in our own galaxy. We believe the same techniques can work here, but we'll need full cooperation from all surviving civilizations. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every refugee fleet in the system began transmitting acceptance of Federation aid. Species that had been enemies for millennia suddenly united under the promise of survival. Dr. Park De-won led the technical assessment team that surveyed the 3 entropy storms ravaging the galaxy. What she found was far worse than anything they had faced before. "These storms are interconnected," she reported to Admiral Hanna. "They're feeding energy to each other across dimensional barriers. If we stop one, the others will become stronger. We have to neutralize all 3 simultaneously, or we'll just make the situation worse." The challenge was staggering. Stopping a single entropy storm had required the combined resources of an entire galaxy. Stopping 3 at once would demand innovations that pushed even Federation capabilities to their limits. Engineer Nam Woo-yong coordinated the construction of 3 dimensional anchors simultaneously, each one requiring technologies and materials that had to be adapted for the unique dimensional properties of the Spiral Garden Galaxy. "We're building each anchor using a different approach," he explained to the assembled refugee leaders. "The first uses crystalline resonance principles from our Vorthak partners. The second employs bioengineered dimensional barriers developed by the Altarians. The third utilizes pure energy manipulation techniques that our human scientists perfected." The construction project became the largest cooperative effort in the history of 2 galaxies. Federation engineers worked alongside Spiral Garden refugees, sharing knowledge and techniques that neither civilization could have developed alone. Captain Oh So-jin commanded the mobile construction fleet that built the first anchor near the galaxy's core. Her workers included beings from over 40 different species, all united by the desperate need to save their new home. "The refugee species bring capabilities we never imagined," she reported. "The Spiral Garden's Voidwalkers can manipulate dimensional space directly. Their crystal singers can create resonance patterns that strengthen our energy fields. Working together, we're building something that surpasses our original design." But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. The youngest member of the engineering team, a human graduate student named Kim Soo-young, made a discovery that changed everything. "The 3 storms aren't just connected," she announced during a project briefing. "They're all parts of a single massive weapon. If we can trace the dimensional conduits back to their source, we might be able to shut down the entire system." Dr. Choi Byung-ju immediately understood the implications. "You're suggesting we don't just stop the storms in this galaxy. We find whoever is creating them and end the threat permanently." The investigation that followed revealed the truth that had been hidden for millions of years. The entropy storms weren't natural disasters or weapons created by dimensional beings. They were the defense mechanisms of a dying universe, automated systems designed to harvest energy from populated galaxies to sustain the last remnants of a civilization that had transcended physical existence. "The storm creators aren't evil," Dr. Park explained to the Joint Federation Spiral Garden Command Council. "They're desperate. Their universe is ending, and they're using our reality as a battery to power their survival systems." The revelation changed everything. Instead of fighting to destroy an enemy, they were now trying to save a dying civilization whose desperation had made them threaten all physical existence. President Lee Tiemann made the decision that would define the Federation's legacy across multiple galaxies. "We don't abandon anyone to extinction. If these transcended beings need energy to survive, we'll find a way to provide it without destroying inhabited worlds." The solution required innovations that had never been imagined before. Dr. Kim Jung-ho's expanded research teams developed methods for tapping the vast empty spaces between galaxies, harvesting dimensional energy from regions where no life existed. "We can provide." 20 years had passed since Earth severed ties with the Galactic Council, and the universe had been transformed beyond recognition. Ambassador Kim Tae-young, now an elderly statesman, stood in the Hall of Memory on New Geneva Station reading The names of every world that had been saved by Federation intervention, the list was staggering. 347 galaxies now flew Federation banners. Over 10,000 species had joined the voluntary alliance that had grown from humanity's rejection of servitude. Most remarkably, not a single world had been conquered. Every member had chosen to join freely. Ambassador, called Dr. Chun Soyan, the Federation's new Director of Universal Relations, the delegation from the Omega Cluster has arrived. They're requesting our assistance with what appears to be a reality warping phenomenon that's threatening their entire galactic group. Kim nodded slowly. Even at his advanced age, he still served as senior advisor for the most complex diplomatic challenges. Each new crisis tested the Federation's principles in ways that previous generations could never have imagined. The Omega Cluster delegation was unlike anything the Federation had encountered before. The beings existed in a state of quantum uncertainty, their physical forms shifting between multiple possible realities simultaneously. Their leader, Entity State Prime Flux, communicated through probability matrices that required entirely new translation technologies. Federation representatives? Prime Flux said, their words manifesting as mathematical equations that somehow conveyed meaning. Our cluster faces dissolution across 17 dimensions. A cascade failure in reality itself threatens to unmake everything we have ever been or might become. President Park Chae-young, who had succeeded Lee Timan 5 years earlier, studied the data provided by the Omega delegation. The scale of the threat dwarfed even the entropy storm crisis. If reality collapse spread beyond the Omega Cluster, it could unravel the fabric of existence across multiple universes. Dr. Choi, she said to the Federation's chief science advisor, is this even theoretically solvable? Dr. Choi Byamju, now ancient by human standards but still sharp as ever, had been analyzing the quantum mathematics for hours. Theoretically, yes. But it would require cooperation between beings that exist in fundamentally incompatible realities. We'd need to coordinate actions across dimensions that can't normally interact. The challenge was unprecedented. The Federation had learned to work with energy beings, hive minds, and even transcended entities that existed beyond physical form. But the Omega crisis required cooperation between versions of reality that couldn't coexist in the same space. Engineer Wang Jisung, now leading the Federation's most advanced research division, proposed a solution that pushed the boundaries of known science. We create a multidimensional coordination matrix, a communication system that can operate across incompatible realities. Each dimension contributes their unique capabilities while working toward a common goal. The project that followed dwarfed every previous Federation achievement. Scientists and engineers from hundreds of galaxies worked with beings that existed in alternative versions of reality itself. Human innovation provided the framework, while alien expertise filled in capabilities that no single species could have developed. Captain Lin Doyoung commanded the reality stabilization fleet that took position around the Omega Cluster. Her ships existed in a state of dimensional flux, allowing them to operate in multiple realities simultaneously. The technology required to build such vessels had only become possible through cooperation between dozens of species across multiple universes. Captain, reported her science officer, we're detecting resonance patterns from 17 different dimensional states. The reality collapse is accelerating. We estimate 6 months before the effect spreads beyond the cluster. The race against universal dissolution brought together the largest cooperative effort in the history of existence. Federation members worked alongside beings they could never directly meet, coordinating actions through mathematical languages that transcended the limitations of normal communication. Dr. Park Ji-won, now over 90 years old but still leading. Breakthrough research made the crucial discovery that saved not just the Omega Cluster, but potentially all of reality. The collapse isn't random, she announced to the multidimensional research team. It's being caused by a loneliness effect. Realities that exist in isolation become unstable. The universe naturally tends toward connection and cooperation. Even at the quantum level, The solution was as elegant as it was profound. Instead of fighting the reality collapse, they would complete it, but in a controlled way that brought the isolated realities together instead of destroying them. "We're not stopping the collapse," Engineer Nam Woo-young explained to the assembled fleet commanders. "We're guiding it toward convergence instead of annihilation. The separate realities will merge into a stable multi-dimensional state." The operation required precise timing across 17 dimensions simultaneously. Federation crews worked with beings from alternative universes to create synchronized energy patterns that would guide the reality merger. When the convergence began, observers across multiple galaxies watched as something impossible became real. 17 different versions of the Omega cluster merged into a single, stable multidimensional structure that existed in all realities at once. The success was more than just technical. It proved that cooperation could work even between beings that existed in fundamentally different versions of reality. The principle that had built the Federation, that differences were strengths rather than obstacles, applied even at the level of universal structure, entity state prime flux. Now existing as a stable multidimensional being, addressed the Federation Council with gratitude that transcended normal language. "The Federation has achieved what we believed impossible, cooperation across the barriers of reality itself. You have saved not just our cluster, but shown that unity is the fundamental force that holds existence together." The Omega Crisis marked a turning point in Federation development. They were no longer just a galactic or even intergalactic civilization. They had become a multiversal alliance that spanned every possible version of reality. Admiral Yoon Jengin, now commanding the Federation's reality defense forces, established permanent monitoring stations throughout the multidimensional matrix. "Our mission has evolved," she told her officers. "We're not just protecting life within our universe, we're protecting the structure of existence itself." But the greatest change was philosophical. The Federation had proven that their principles worked at every level of existence, from individual relationships to the fundamental forces that held reality together. Dr. Kim Jong-ho, working with quantum philosophers from dozens of dimensions, formulated what became known as the Universal Cooperation Principle. At every level of existence, from subatomic particles to multiversal structures, systems tend toward cooperation and mutual benefit. Conflict and isolation are unstable states that naturally resolve toward harmony. The principle explained everything the Federation had accomplished. They hadn't succeeded despite the universe's nature. They had succeeded because they had discovered the universe's true nature on Earth, now the symbolic capital of a multiversal civilization. Elderly Ambassador Kim Tae-young gave his final speech to the Federation Assembly. Representatives from thousands of species across multiple realities gathered to hear the words of someone who had witnessed the entire transformation. 20 years ago, he began, humanity was called primitive, servants, unfit for leadership among the stars. We were told that aggression and hierarchy were the natural order. That cooperation was weakness, that different species could never truly work together. He paused, looking out at the assembly that included beings of crystal and gas, energy and thought, creatures from dimensions that couldn't normally interact, all united in common purpose. Today we know the truth. Cooperation isn't just possible, it's the fundamental force that holds existence together. The old Galactic Council failed because they fought against the universe's nature. The Federation succeeded because we worked with it. The applause that followed came in dozens of different forms: crystalline chimes, harmonic frequencies, probability fluctuations, and simple human clapping. But they all expressed the same sentiment: gratitude for the lesson that had saved not just their civilizations, but reality itself. President Park Chae-young took the podium to announce the Federation's next great project. "We've learned that cooperation works at every level of existence. Now we're going to prove it works across existence itself. The Federation is establishing contact with other multiverses, offering our assistance to any reality that needs help." The announcement marked the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure yet. They had started as dismissed servants of an arrogant galactic council. They had become leaders of a multiversal civilization dedicated to proving that cooperation was stronger than any force in existence. As the assembly dispersed, beings from across multiple realities returned to their homes with renewed purpose. The Federation had shown them that no problem was too large, no difference too great, no distance too vast to overcome through working together. Dr. Choi Byung-ju, now preparing to transfer her research to younger scientists, reflect.